Hey everyone. So in this vlog, we are going to discuss how most people give advice based out of their own personal fears. Think about that one. Most people that you go to advice for, whether it's on your business or on your marriage or your kids, most people will give you advice based on their own personal fears. So let's get into it. Okay. Why would I say that? Because I've seen it and I've experienced it for many years, but I would say this is the first time I'm now recognizing advice, the topic of advice for what it is. There are very few people on this earth that are able to give advice out of absolute love and light and what is good for the other person. Most people, because they're giving advice out of fear, will interject their own opinions, their own judgments into the advice they're giving. And if the other person does not follow their advice, then anger begins to accumulate on the person that gave the advice. It's so twisted. So let's talk about it. Now, when someone comes to you for advice, they're coming to you from an extremely vulnerable place. Extremely vulnerable place because they feel lost. Now, it is so common for people when someone is feeling lost or down or depressed or just having a hard time in life, and I can attest to this, people will fucking kick them while they're down. Energetically kick them in the gut, kick them in the mouth, kick them in the nose. Energetically, people do that to each other. Like, we're savages. And let me explain. When somebody is down and out and is looking for some closure or some answers to their questions, many people will try and help them based on their own experiences, which is natural. The problem is when people begin to try and give other people advice and they haven't worked on their own fears and their own shadows, that's fucked up. That advice is usually not in the highest good for the person seeking answers or seeking some sort of relief. When advice is given out of fear, there's always an ego attached to that advice. So if out of fear I tell a friend of mine that, you know what, you just need to keep your mouth shut and stay like subservient in whatever situation she's going through, business, let's say, keep your mouth shut and let your business partner rule the roost because that's the best thing to do. Observe. Don't say shit, just observe. But if I say that coming from a place of fear where in the past I was in these business relationships and I spoke up too hard and I got reprimanded for it, that's my experience, and now I'm giving advice solely based on fear, and I'm telling this friend to do the opposite, just keep your mouth shut. But let's say this friend doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut. It's really hard for this person to stay silent. That advice is not going to work for that person. Then when he or she doesn't follow my advice, then I'm going to be like, I told you so. I told you so. And those sort of I told you so's are usually from frustration and from like, you're not listening to me. ego, especially if your advice is coming from fear. Now let's change it around. If your advice is coming from love and light, and you say to this person, you know what? It is time for you just to keep this zipped up because the business is not benefiting it from the conversations and the communication you're having. Therefore, if you and your business partner are not able to communicate, then you've just got to be silent for a little while because it's not working. So you don't want to do more of what's not working. Do the opposite and just be silent for a little while and see how it goes. Why don't you observe and see how the silence goes? Then the other friend, because she can pick up that you are giving advice out of love and out of nurture and for highest good, easiest path, may say to you, I have such a hard time keeping my mouth shut. Like, how do I do that? Then the other person can be like, I don't know, count to 10 backwards. Whenever you feel like talking, go 10, 9. In your mind's eye, from 10 to 1, start counting. Exit the room. Like, do you see how then you have an open conversation? And then there's no room for failure. So when this friend goes off, let's say he or she is able to practice the 10 to 1 silence, no speaking rule. And not only did they only practice the 10 to 1, but added their own personal flavor. Like maybe started visualizing a zipper on her mouth, and it worked. So then she comes back and tells the person that's giving the advice, like, oh my God, I did this. It totally worked. It shifted the energy and it kind of got us out of that anxiety stage, like my business partner and I. And through silence, we were able to just kind of look at our books and figure out a solution from this book. So do you see how energetically, like the advice is the same almost, but one is coming from fear and the other is coming from absolute love and light and non-judgment. Do you see why love and light is so important? Love and light actually, it expands energies, right? It expands consciousness. Therefore, when you're communicating with other people and you're coming from love and light, they're gonna feel energetically that pull of wonder, that pull of hope, that pull of, okay, I got this, this is gonna work. You will vibe that for that other person. Then that other person takes on what feels good energetically to them, and they will experience that in their own situations in life. Whereas when you give advice from fear, it's a constricted energy and there's expectations of, did you listen to me? There's an ego involved and the energy on both ends is constricting. That's all I got. If you have any other, like how do you deal with, like how do you see advice? Do you think most people are giving advice out of fear and expectation and judgment? Or do you think people are giving advice out of like love and light, consciousness, what is in this person's highest good, easiest path? Not my highest good, easiest path. This person's highest good, easiest path with their personality in mind, with no judgment, with only communication, like how did it go? Love you guys.